Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
No. So like, oh, okay,
I
wait, because it's gonna
yeah.
be on the interwebs, right? So we
Yeah,
got to be
but I mean,
careful here.
come on. Yeah, but still,
Um,
you can describe this thing. You don't have to
okay,
perform it.
yeah. So, like, for instance,
Welcome to the Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Kristin Reinbold. Kristin, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
hey, thanks so much for having me today. Great to be here. My name, like you said, is Kristin Reinbold. I am a budding author, public speaker, and lover of all things Disney, and just working on trying to spread awareness on how we can align ourselves and our goals and our focus intentionally to align that with Walt Disney and how he was able to persevere and overcome obstacles and hardships to make what is now most arguably the most well-known entertainment mecca across the entire world.
Do you feel they've gone off course and are no longer aligned?
Ooh, that depends on who you ask. I think that they still do a lot of things beautifully well, and I would never want to talk negatively about that, of course. I think it's hard to say what Walt would do. I think we're so quick to be like, oh, Walt would be turning over in his grave, but we have no idea how he would evolve and adapt with the onset of technology and the fact that we're glued to our phones and everything has to be instantaneous. So it's one of those things, unless we're in the office to make the changes, I feel like we got to make the best of it,
Okay.
and stay as educated as possible.
Well, maybe the magic can be done virtually. So, should we give it a
Yeah,
shot?
absolutely. Let's do it.
Uh, Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see that 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comment section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build, and we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me. All right, so the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian.
Right.
So I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who's a funny person telling any jokes. So, Kristin, would you agree that you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian?
That's a it's tricky because I've asked several people. I was like, "Would you consider me as a comedian?" And hands down everyone says, "Yeah," just because it comes naturally. I haven't put any intentional effort into, let's say, being funny as a comic to always have this, repertoire of like one-liner jokes at hand. So I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up for me.
Okay, so another way to look at it is you could say that the comedian is internal and the comic is external. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think it comes down to how you portray yourself because so much of your personality and who you are comes out through a comedian's presence and performance. Whereas I think that comics are more in line with when you put on a character or put on a mask or put on a persona where it's very disconnected from who you are naturally.
So you would say that that character is a so there's a lot of people that say they would call Andrew Dice Clay a comedian because
Okay.
even though that's not who he was as a person, he was always the same character. Would you agree that
Ah.
that would be an example of a comedian and not a comic?
Mm. Yes. And that
Okay.
actually makes me think of like Adam Sandler. There's only a handful where he really takes on a different persona, but like who he is, the fiber of his being and what makes him so funny and what lands so well is, woven throughout all of his material. So yeah. Yeah, good point.
All right. All right. So you ready for the first question?
Let's do it.
All right. So it's about the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus the real self?
For a comedian, right?
Well, I mean, I would, think naturally that that would be consistent. But if you say that, because you did mention that the comic character as an external one also would apply. So you could say that too.
Yeah, again, I think that just goes back to what I believe makes a really successful comedian is being able to readily tap into their life experience, their own personality, their own um kind of their own storyline, and they're able to weave that in a way that plays with the audience and gets them, involved and to even find that humorous, even if it's like self-deprecating, right? Like I do that a lot. We have a lot of fun with, what went wrong in my life and why
Yeah,
is that funny?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you put on a character?
I don't.
You sure?
There's times where, like, naturally I don't. There are times where I tap into because, I'm an 80s and 90s child. So I grew up with like the original, like, people are going to be like, that's not original. My original SNL of like the 90s and early 2000s. And so I can readily go into, Adam Sandler and Chris Farley and David Spade. Like I can do that like at the drop of a hat. But I think maybe it's that influence that kind of evolved into my own natural character. So no, I don't have like a repertoire of characters that I pull out that I perform with. It's just real. It's more closer to home. It's authentically who
Sure.
I am.
Absolutely. All right. So how about punching up versus punching down? So
Mm.
where do comics versus comedians stand on this? And let me put it in some historical context.
Yeah, please
Did
do.
a did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
Mm. Mm. Elaborate for me if you don't mind to pass it back to you. The punching up versus punching down.
Well, so some may argue that you can only punch up or down to groups and not individuals. So is that clarified?
Describe punching up and punching down. That was one a little dicey.
Okay. Well, especially in this context. So punching down, a lot of times Dave Chappelle gets criticized for punching down on the trans community,
Oh,
but
got it.
he, but he does it on purpose. So there can be an argument for, is that even punching? Well, what degree perhaps is that, especially if he's doing it on purpose?
Okay. So rephrase the question one more time, and then I got your answer.
Ah, okay. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
Mm. I'd like to think no. This might be not, popular, the popular choice here, but I don't find it that funny when we have to punch down for the sake of humor. Like, I am a little trepidatious with that because I don't know, some could argue that's a cop out. Like the only way that you can be humorous or people can find joy in you is, you attacking a people group of somebody else. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you grew up on the West Coast, right?
Yes.
Okay. So on the
Is it
East Coast,
obvious?
well, I'm also a child from the same time frame, and
Yeah.
so back then it was much more aggressive of a
Yes.
culture, right?
Yes.
And especially on the East Coast, where if you aren't talking smack all the time,
Right.
you are not part of the culture, and that's not a West Coast thing; it's more of an East Coast thing. And
Sure.
so,
Agreed. Even in
yeah,
music, I think we could argue
well,
that. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. You could say the rap
Yes.
feuds between East Coast and West Coast had a quality that also varied purely based on that degree of animosity or
Right. Right.
antagonism, perhaps. So so I actually got lost. So are we saying that maybe that's the version of punching down I'm referring to with the killing of the court jester, where it's like in that kind of dark
Right.
corners of New York City, that is someone would laugh. They're like, yeah, that's how to do it, and they would find that funny.
Yeah, I think that yes, I think maybe both can be true. It's not an either or. I think it's a yes and a yes. But I think it definitely has to be historically taken in a historical and cultural context.
Right. Well, we weren't there, and this isn't written in history. There's no Wikipedia page
Right.
for this, so we can't
Yeah.
say, what actually happened in this case.
Right.
So,
Right.
all right. So we'll move on. How about cultural translation of comedy? So,
Mm.
how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
I think not. First of all, it might even kind of segue back to the previous question. If we don't come from a certain cultural background, if we don't have experience with a certain demographic, are we really in a position to poke fun at that demographic, right? Or is it more funny because we are not of that demographic that we can then poke fun of? So, um, I think in terms of it landing is a cultural unawareness of it. If I go to say something, in fact, I've said things that I didn't even mean to be off color, but like my own teenage daughter will be like, "Mom, you can't say that." I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because of your demographics." I'm like, "Why? I didn't." You know what I
You're
mean?
gonna, you're no, you're gonna have to give an example.
No, no. So like, oh, okay,
I,
wait, because it's going
yeah,
to be on the interwebs, right? So we
yeah,
got to be
but I mean,
careful
come
here.
on, yeah, but still,
Um,
you can describe this thing. You don't have to
okay,
perform it.
yeah, yeah. So like for instance, there was somebody, this was a long time ago actually, but I told her the story about it and she was mortified that I did this.
Put
So
it
when
in
I
the
was
form of a joke, and then it's okay.
right,
What's the
well, I was
surprise?
okay, you can see that I have very thin blonde straight hair, and so when I see people that have very different hair, maybe it's more or
Oral
maybe it
origami,
or
or
has
it's just beady beady
yeah,
beady
could just
beady.
be yeah. So I'm fascinated and what people install into their hair that looks
Uh
very
huh.
very different, and so I
To
made
dry it
comments
out a
about that.
little.
Yeah, I
Right.
was like, wow, that kind of looks like it looked like dried paper when you fold it in to make origami.
Okay.
At the time, I thought it was an appropriate thing to say. Apparently, it wasn't, and I learned my lesson really quick. But
Okay.
some people could grab that and do a whole bit on it
Oh,
and have people
100%.
in stitches over it. So I think it's time. I think it's place. I think it's, context.
I mean, I mean, I might even be. So, are you telling me that you haven't seen origami in hair before?
Okay, I live in Vegas. Yes, I have seen it before. One time
Okay.
before, and I made sure to comment on it and then never again.
Yeah.
You can walk
I
around with
think,
cranes on your head, and I'm not going to say nothing.
yeah, you know what? I think that's going to be something. I'm going to be working on that. Some graphics here. We're going to bring origami back.
I think we
That's
should.
what.
I think we should. You just give
Oh
me like
no,
a little shout out. I could start a whole fad now,
absolutely bring origami back.
right?
That's going to
Make
be the motto from
origami
this
great
one.
again.
Make origami great again. Okay. I Oral think I might have to origami. do a little skit on that. All right.
Right.
Okay. So, how does the silence when your joke
Mm.
doesn't land hurt? Physically, emotionally, morally, or spiritually?
Can I say all of the above? Oh my word. I I think if you look at it this way, and people may not agree with me, and that's okay, they don't have to. Being somebody who is just naturally funny in everything that they do, like I've had to learn to not take myself too seriously. Also, my day job, aside from all of this, is I work with teenagers all day, every day as an English teacher in a classroom. And so I have learned real quick. Um, how to keep it funny, keep it engaging, or I'm going to lose them. And once I lose one, I lose them all. And there's nothing worse than a whole classroom full of teenagers that you've lost, right? So when I am trying to be funny or engaging, especially when I'm like 6'7" or this is
I was
Sigma, like, right? Trying trying to use it against them and like it totally falls flat.
right. Yeah, I
It's a
mean, I almost,
pain.
yeah, I think so. I think it is flat, honestly. When I heard it, I was like, this is not, I was going to say earlier, which I forgot
Yeah.
because I got too deep, was that you have to increase, the skill level has increased in everything.
Yes.
Well, in many things, in sports in particular, the skill level has increased. In comedy, the skill level has increased. I guess not in everything, but I think this particular meme isn't that good.
No.
It's not that good. It's just original,
Mm.
and it has a
Origami.
kind of rhythmic quality to it, and that's why it's
Right.
being used. But it's not that good.
No.
And
And I think what keeps it going, like it just won't die, is that if you look at it from
although,
like an educational standpoint with teenagers or the youth, how many page numbers do we have to flip to that
Yeah,
are
exactly.
6, 7, or you know what I mean? And so you just can't get rid of it. But in terms of like, how does it hurt and why does it hurt? I don't care who you are. If you are in any form of entertainment or an artist in any capacity, we daily put ourselves out there to the universe and we hope that it lands and impacts somebody. We want to be accepted. We are all little hurt kids that have wounds that just want somebody to pick us up and love us and say it's going to be okay and we're enough. And so when we don't get that, it can sting. I think it's more than just physical. Yeah, you get that like sinking feeling in your stomach, you get sweaty, you get nervous, your heart rate increases, but then on like, an internal emotional level, yeah, I think it's another reminder that like we're not wanted, we're not good enough. They don't like you. I made a mistake. Who do I think I am? Yeah.
Somebody stepped on your origami.
Yeah,
Origami.
Sorry, I just pulled out my journal from my therapist, so I guess I should pull that back.
All right, so crowd work versus crafted work. So if this one's tough. So if comics riff like influencers in a comment section and comedians perform like in reaction videos, where is the sweet spot?
Ooh, I love it. I love this question.
Okay.
I am so impressed with the comic or the comedian that can have a plan, right? You go in with your sketched ideas, you go in with your bit, you go in with your routine, but it is magnified or sometimes takes a hard left turn based on the feedback of the audience, based on the things that you didn't plan on because you got this guy over here that's wearing a shirt that's like 3 sizes too small, or you got somebody over here that is clearly falling asleep and it looks like they're on their first date and that's not going to work out too well. Sorry, right? You might want to call your Uber now. Like that's golden and you can't plan for that. And those nuggets, I think that's what sets apart like the boys from the men is like, can you allow yourself to diverge a little bit from the plan and tap into that because that's where it's at.
Okay. So what would you do if an audience member that you can see is yawning?
Oh, eat it up. I would probably go and sit right on the edge of the stage and lean over and be like, I'm sorry, am I boring you? Because if you'd like, here you go. You want to try? That might be a little rude. But then what would really suck is if they take the mic and they go up and blow me out of the water. Then I'd be like, okay. Careful what you ask for.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
We don't want it to go that way. But what happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work?
I think that's very, very risky. It's like in order to break the rules, you sure as hell better know the rules and have them down pat. Because once you start handing over that mic of control, so to speak, there's a really good chance that you're either not going to get it back or it's going to go in a direction that you can't recover from. And so, because there's a lot of unknown variables, right? We don't quite know who's in the audience. We don't quite know, especially in Vegas, everyone's got their free cocktail coupons. Like, you got to be careful when you open Pandora's box, because if it works great. But when it doesn't, you might be setting yourself up for a disaster that you just can't recover from. So do so, but do so with caution and just make sure you've got like a plan B or a plan C to fall back on if it starts to go haywire,
Okay, so very important question. Advertising and self-promotion. So who advertises themselves more? The comic, the comedian, or the magician? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
I'm going to say the magician. I have to pretend that I don't live in Las Vegas and I'm surrounded by billboards all the time by like tons of talent, right?
So do you see magician billboards often?
all the time. Yeah. Like from back when Siegfried and Roy was a thing, like they have everything. Penn and Teller is all over all of the buildings. I think one of the reasons for that is it taps into like social media and advertising too, is if you're funny, and I'm talking to the comedians, I'm talking to the people that were born funny or just happen to have a really good sense of humor and can make people laugh even when they're not trying, me included. You don't have to really put up a banner that says, "Hey, I know how to crowd control. Like I can take ownership of a crowd. Hey, I can hold an audience. Hey, I can, you know what I mean?" But I think when it comes to magicians, like unless you're walking around pulling rabbits out of your hat all day long, like how do you actually portray that? Let's say Penn and Teller, and no disrespect, but they're just the first ones that come to mind that I know are on the side of the buildings right now. Just by looking at them, would you really know that that's what they do? Right? I don't know. I just
Right. If you
but
came from another country and you have no idea what's happening, you would know
yeah,
that it wouldn't land. You'd be like, "Well," or maybe you're
right.
just curious and that's enough.
Right. And they do a great job of like blending comedy, of course, with magic. Yeah, social media and advertising, I think, is one of those things that I love to hate and I hate to love because I don't want to feel this incessant need to constantly be climbing up this digital ladder of like, oh, look at me. Oh, look at this video. How many views did I get? How many likes? Oh, what's the algorithm today? It's damn exhausting, and quite frankly it's a full-time job in itself, but because that has become the industry standard of where we're at socially and globally, I feel like if you're not part of that, you don't stand a chance. And if there's people out there that are very successful and they don't have to play that game, I would love for them to reach out and contact me and tell me, how do you go about navigating that?
So how would Walt feel about that?
mm, That's a great question. Walt, I can say this about Walt based on what I have learned and read and studied. He was always looking to tomorrow. He had affinity and fascination to his core with advancement and future. Look at the Florida project, right? And what is his heart's cry was for Epcot. That was as forward thinking as you could possibly go in the time. I think he would be utter elated at what's going on. Um, but we got to be careful because it's either going to be a tool to help us or it's going to be, something that pulls us back from the overall mission. So do I think that he would love the idea that as soon as we get in the park, we've got to be glued to our phones to do lightning lanes and reservations and all of that? No, because the magic is happening around us. We're missing out on it for what's here. So I don't think he'd love that.
So there's a new experience. I haven't, I'll admit I haven't been to Disneyland since cell phones. So
Whoa!
yeah, it's been a while.
Yahtzee!
No, I loved it. It was my thing as a kid, but then I felt, once I don't know, I
Yeah.
guess I had a bad experience and I
Mm,
grew up and I never went back. And,
yeah, that's
so that
okay.
must be a whole new thing now with cell phones. So you're saying that it's just so integrated in the actual experience.
It is. And then not only that, but like then you're worried about like, am I going to have enough battery life? Where am I going to put my phone? Like then you've got to have
Hmm.
backup batteries and chargers and all this other garbage and it's just nonsense. But yeah, from the second you want to make a park reservation or book tickets, I mean, yes, you can do some of that on your laptop, but if you don't have the app and if you are not locked into that, that's
Mm.
your world. That's your ticket in. That's your reservation system to even have a reservation to get into the parks. But then you also have to use it for dining, checking wait times, like navigating, like everything is on your phone. And then,
Mm.
not to mention, too, because we are so phone friendly and we want to record everything and post everything and video everything and then share it with the world, it kind of takes the magic away because whether you want to or not, it's going to pop up in your feed and you're going to see things that, oh, well, do I really need to go now? Because somebody just, did a whole walkthrough of the whole damn land. So I don't know. I don't know how
Until
I
there's
feel.
holograms. Are there holograms yet?
There are.
Oh,
And I'm not going to tell
oh.
you where because your homework this year,
Yeah,
2026, is you need to go back. It
yeah.
doesn't mean that you didn't grow up.
I have seen Fantasia or is that what it was called with the light
Okay, so
show
that's
in the water?
Phantasmic. Yes, Phantasmic.
Fantastic.
But if are you a fan of Star Wars?
Of course.
Okay, then enough said. That's all I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Okay. So, uh, let's see. Okay, censorship and offense.
Mm.
So, does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point, like a magician?
Mm. Oh man, I don't know if we could even just put all comics and all comedians in like their own box, right? I think it just comes down to like your own moral compass and what you feel comfortable with. And it's like that Pandora's box analogy. Like if you start going down that rabbit hole where you say things that might need to be censored to some demographic or some people group or some organization, you just better be careful because you don't have control of how those bullets are going to land or how they might be returned. Um, I think a good entertainer, a good educator and public speaker, which is what a good comedian is, can surf that wave, right? Intentionally, kind of copacetically, and do so in a safe way. Um, yeah,
It's an interesting way. Yeah. So you're going with immediately when you get with the firearms, I'm thinking that the comedian's more of a sniper and that they will take that risky shot because if they
yeah,
miss, they expose themselves. And
agreed.
so they can't miss. But if they hit it, they nail it. But the
Right.
comic is the grenadier. He's got the grenade
Ah,
launcher and he's just going to spray and pray. And
yeah,
that's where I could see the problem could come in is that you have to be careful because you're using an area weapon and it's going to destroy everything. And so you better be
right.
right.
Right. Beautiful analogy. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
Is
dark,
it beautiful? I guess it's Star Wars
it's
related.
kind of depressing for a Thursday, but whatever.
Yeah. So then who survives better in the cancel culture environment? The
Mm.
comic, the comedian, the magician, or the mudslinger?
Oh God, I hate those two words.
Hmm.
I do. I genuinely do. Because what comes to mind, and if you haven't learned this about me yet, you have now. I have a roundabout way of answering things because I think everything needs to have context to it. And I'm saddened by the fact that we, in generally speaking, cannot just walk away when we're uncomfortable. Right? Like we can't just keep scrolling. We can't just turn it off. We can't just flip the page. Like why do we feel the need to like go overboard and like start canceling culture, and making it like your public proclamation of like,
Mhm.
oh, right, like boycotting out loud and on people's feeds and like, oh my word, it just creates so much noise and chaos. And I feel like all of that energy takes away from the art of storytelling, which is what comedians and comics do. So who survives the best? Is that right? Is that who survives the best?
Yeah, who
Or
survives best? Yeah.
yeah, I would say comics do because I've like, dude, hats off to comics. They're freaking hardcore. Like I'm
Okay.
thinking, I just picture like the East Coast comic, like in the back alley, like running riffs, like like a rapper, so to speak. And I feel like they don't care. Like they are just at that point where they're going to say it no matter what.
All right.
You don't like it, walk away. That's okay because when two people leave, five people are going to come sit down.
They're uncancelable, is what you're saying.
Right?
Okay. All right. So how about laughter versus applause? So are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks or a primetime Emmy that validate the message?
I would argue that comedians are not after the primetime Emmy. I think that if you get into this business and you do this for that, like that's a little too late, right? Like we need that immediate gratification. We need that instant reminder that like our journal from our therapist is wrong. Like, no, people do like me. People do love me. I am good enough. I would argue that it's at least for me personally, leaning more towards the comedian route would be that that um what was it? It was the applause. I'm sorry. The comic was leaned towards the laughter. Applause, I
Yeah, I
think,
mean
is
it's tricky. It's
yeah.
both.
It is because they kind of overlap, right? Like I'll laugh at
Yeah.
something that I think is funny, but if I'm now applauding while I'm laughing, like that is a hey, you hit it. I agree with you. Wow, way to take it there.
Right. All right. So, Kristen, are you ready to enter the multiverse?
Oh gosh, I think so. My
All
palms are
right.
sweaty. Mom
Bo-
spaghetti. Oh,
oh, mom
what?
spaghetti is
What? Little
Is that like
M&M.
the spaghetti? Oh, is that? I don't know that lyric.
No,
Does he use
M&M,
that?
right? Because we were talking about rapping. I was trying to be
Right.
cool and it didn't land.
Well, because I don't know if did he actually say that?
Yeah, palms are
Oh,
sweaty,
yeah.
mom's spaghetti, something about, oh God, see, that's all I know. I was trying to be cool and I thought if I just said the two lines, people would be like, "Oh, she's actually in with the rap game."
It
Now,
is from
cat's out
like
of the bag.
I mean, Eminem is like 6'7". So, all right. So
Ah!
board game Zoomcast, play versus performance. So if
Yeah.
comedy were a board game Zoomcast, are you competing as the colorist, adding tone, mood, and shading, or the Foley artist, building punchlines with soundscapes and timing?
Oh, I'm building the culture and the community and I'm setting the stage all day long. Because in order for it to land, in order for you to buy what I'm selling, I've got to get you where I want you. I've got to get you to feel certain emotions. I got to get you to remember certain things. I have to get you to identify with me on some emotional level. And then once I set that up, then it's a home run from there. Hook, line, and sinker.
Okay. So then does comedy work better when it's painted vividly or when it's orchestrated sonically?
Ooh. I'd say it depends on the audience. Some people need a little bit more help getting to get to the end result than others. I think it's a little bit of both. But again, that goes back to culture, timing, place, situational awareness, circumstance, all of that plays a part into it. There might be times where you need to turn it on and paint it extremely vividly, where others it's going to be more of a soft, like watercolor pastel situation, and less neon lights in your face.
All right. Okay. So here on the Comedians and Elevators podcast, we have a tradition where the previous guest asks a question for the next guest. And the
Ooh.
previous guest was Doug Kane. And his question for you, Kristin, is how do you want to be remembered as an artist and a person?
Same answer for both. And by the way, Doug, that's a beautiful question. Gosh, that makes it hard for me to think of a better one for the next person. Um,
Uh-oh.
if people can say one thing about me, and I'm going to lean into my Mondays on Main Street, which is what I write. Like if I were to pass and leave a legacy that was worth a window on Main Street, I think it would be for my authenticity and tenacity and willing to rise above and continue to stand up, face the spotlight, even in the face of adversity and downfalls and, falling on hard times and kind of literally hitting rock bottom, um, and being able to come out on top anyway. I think that's inspiring because it's all about what we can leave for the next person to inspire them to be even better.
All right. All right. All right. So last question, legacy.
Okay.
Who gets remembered? Will the comics Tight Five survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
I would argue comedian's point of view would be more timeless. Cultural point of view. I think that again, if you can tap into something that has more of a wider spread, like a global impact or an impact across a people group or a culture, that's going to leave them walking away remembering something important that they're going to carry with them. Versus, just a
Absolutely.
couple one-liners or some cute, fun jokes or bits that work just in, the vacuum of that performance.
All right. So where can everybody find you online, Kristin?
All right. So you can check me out at KristinReinbold.com. Going to that website will take you to the bottom, which has the links to all of my socials. Starting tomorrow, we are launching our Wisdom of Walt podcast with myself and Dr. Jeff Barnes. Also working on a book that'll be out this summer. It is called A Forced Perspective, Stories of Life, Love, and Other Fairy Tales. But yeah, feel free to reach out.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's make origami great again. Origami. So everyone, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you're interested in too much information like in the network state or Mantipus the chicken shit, check out this video. Or is it this one right here? Well, either way. Lizard.